Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle in the series Freemasonry and Satanism, book review number 64, part 3. And it'll be the last part of this book. Matrix of Power, Secrets of World Control by Jordan Maxwell. You can go online, find Jordan Maxwell's books. I've read a lot of books, and he seems to be investigating and exposing a lot of the other details that a lot of other people are exposing and researching. Everybody from stuff they report on Infowars.com, Alex Jones, Bohemian Grove, where he snuck in and videoed the elites having a satanic ritual, throwing a baby into the belly of a giant owl, a burning fire. The men dressed in long gowns, supposedly naked underneath, and shipping in gay men for some kind of ritual sex. President Reagan, Bush, Nixon, Kissinger, a lot of people were photographed there. The Bohemian Grove in California. The tip of the iceberg. 9/11, Oklahoma City bombing, Sandy Hook school shooting, Batman movie shooting, Boston bombing at 666 Boylston Street, the Israelis bombing the heck out of the ship Liberty, trying to sink it and supposedly blame it on the Egyptians to disrupt relations between the USA and Egypt. So there has been this effort, and I think most people will agree. World War I, World War II, French Revolution, Russian Revolution, Chinese Revolution, formation of the United Nations, where apparently in its charter dictates that the presidents have to be elected from the communist nations. What's with that? And it appears, since 9/11, and probably before, that they're trying to get the United States to be part of the communist nations, which, as most people would probably agree, the USA citizens would probably resist. Resist having their guns taken. Resist having their property rights taken. Resist having their freedoms taken. But it's happening at an ever-increasing rate. So I thought I would do one more video on this book, do a few press releases, and then another video or picture shoot slide, the way I do it. Doesn't give me a lot of pleasure to do this video or some of the other ones, because things are getting worse. And as in this video, you will see that. Very disturbing stuff going on. Greece collapsing. And apparently in the news, for the first time ever, they're allowing USA to land their planes or have a base on Greece. You suppose that's why they crashed it? Spain is crashing. Ireland, maybe? Issues all over the planet. Germany having problems with immigration issues. A lot of countries. We'll review that. It's all connected. You know, they're promoting the Gaia worship, Mother Earth, giving us these lies, global warming, trying to install a carbon tax, which is basically a worldwide tax. So if there's some secret establishment behind the scenes ruling things, and they really don't care what goes on with the masses, and it seems like they're trying to ferment chaos and anarchy, but they want to be able to tax everybody on the planet, possibly microchip anybody, and those that they allow to live, by the way. I think they want to eliminate 90% of the population, and in the past they did that quite effectively through wars. But then when they acquired nuclear weapons, they feared there wouldn't be any more wars. So the elites had a bunch of scientists and other high-level business people across the country come to Iron Mountain in New York, go to Iron Mountain in New York, and create a report on how to deal with peace. How do we still control the people if peace breaks out? Those words are in the book, if peace breaks out. Report from Iron Mountain. You can look it up. I found copies of it free online. And read it, seriously. And some of the reasons or tools they would use to continue to control the people with fear were plagues, Ebola, etc., terrorism, aliens, environmental catastrophe, weather. It's all in Report from Iron Mountain. And one of the people who were selected to help write the report felt it was so concerning. He risked his life to find a publisher, and of course not a main publisher, Main Street. He had to find somebody off the grid to publish Report from Iron Mountain, to get it out there, to share it with the people. So anyways, back to this book. As you know, I can ramble on. Where we left off was on the dollar bill is Novus Order Seclorum, which translates to New Order of the World, the New World Order, and we must remember that Germany was the home to the concept of the New World Order, and I think it was the home of the public becoming aware of the pursuit of a New World Order. I think it's been going on at least since 1776, when Adam Wüsthof, under the command of the Rothschilds, Illuminati leadership family, who had owned the Bank of Germany, Bank of England, and Bank of Italy, and in 1913 conspired with President Wilson to create the Federal Reserve, which was a private institution, again owned and controlled by the Illuminati, Rothschild family, and others. So anyways, moving on here, Hitler's entire motivation was to establish a New World Order. Now here's the catch we all have to pay attention to explain what is going on today. But in order to establish a New World Order, you have to destroy the old world order. Get it? In order to establish a New World Order, you have to destroy an old world order. And how do you destroy an old world order? It takes time, planning. And we've seen that they have been planning. The many books that I've gone over explain it. Things that we've seen, like 9/11, Patriot Act, which was apparently already made prior to 9/11, because they approved it days later. And if anybody knows things about lawyers and documents and government, they don't create an act like that in a couple days. Anyways, and this is exactly what Hitler set out to do. Destroy all of the old aristocracy. So there were established families across the globe that had to be taken down. And they've been taking them down for 100 years at least, probably longer. And reestablishing them with other people who are the aristocracy. But most of the new aristocrats are have something immensely different than the old aristocrats, meaning the kings and queens and leaders and industrial leaders and famous families and people who were leaders in the world. So they had to replace the old with the new. And apparently the ones they're replacing it with are people who are more into the occult, specifically satanic, Lucifer, pagan, Isis, Osiris, Horus, the all-seeing eye, Kabbalah, Zionism, Jesuits, secret mystery school of Babylon, as William Cooper explains quite clearly on many of his videos on YouTube you can go watch, or his book Beware of a Paled Horse, and many other authors I've gone over. So even the French Revolution was caused by these Freemasonic, Illuminati, Zionists, Jesuits, banksters, elitists, worshiping and trying to bring about the dark side, like in the Star Wars movie. Believe it or not. Maybe by the end of this video, anybody who doesn't believe it will see it. Anyway, suffice it to say that there was an immense amount of Freemasonic activity. This is Jordan Maxwell, who wrote all this and who had been studying this material many, many years, 30 plus years, maybe 40. Amount of Freemasonic activity involved in the French Revolution, in the Mexican Revolution, in the American Revolution, and in all other revolutions going on throughout the world. We know that that book I went over, Letters on Freemasonry, written by President John Quincy Adams, former President of the United States, explaining that originally there wasn't the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. There was the Masonic Party, Freemasons, versus the anti-Masonic Party, which were generally the Christians. So it was the Christians against the Masons, and the Masons apparently worship Lucifer. Believe it or not, that's what's seemingly coming out the further I investigate. The world can therefore seize the opportunity, Persian Gulf crisis, to fulfill the long-held promise of a new world order where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. Who said that? George Bush, U.S. President at the time. The world can therefore seize the opportunity. That's when they had the Persian Gulf crisis. To fulfill the long-held promise of a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. Now, aspirations of mankind, I don't think George Bush was talking about morality, Christianity, sovereignty of nations where they govern themselves. So the long-held aspirations of mankind, I don't think he's talking about things that I want or most people want. It's what they want, the elitist. European aristocracies transferred their lighted candles from Christian altars to Masonic lodges. Not making this up. Go get the book. Get your highlighter out. The flame of occult alchemist, which had promised to turn dross into gold, reappeared at the center of new circles, seeking to recreate a golden age. The Bavarian Illuminist conspiring against the Jesuits, French Philadelphians against Napoleon, Italian charcoal burners against the Habsburgs. Moving on here on page 12, the seal that we have on the American dollar bill is an occult seal of the occult society pursuing an occult agenda. And again, in my opinion, which seems fairly obvious, and we will see that in this video, it's clearly right out of the Bible also. It's biblical. It's satanic and Luciferic doctrine. Helena Blavatsky, Alice Bailey, the Theosophist societies, where they were meditating and going into trances and communicating with masters on the other side. All this stuff they're promoting as the New Age. And the posters in your downtowns and the covers of your magazines and cartoons even, and movies, and everybody's into the New Age, healing and crystals, and just some bizarre activities. That one video I did prior to this one, part 2 of this 64 series, that one guy holding a big sign, looked like a gay guy, a guy dressed in drag, saying that he bets that hell is fantastic, or whatever he said. Fabulous. What kind of mindset would anybody think that hell would be fabulous? How sick and demented are many people in the world right now from the propaganda that has been dumped on them since they were children, starting with the cartoons and the school systems. How far has it gone? In South Carolina, apparently in major cities, it's illegal to be homeless, and the economy is still nosediving, so more and more people can't pay their rent. The landlords are going to kick them out, and so more and more people are going to be homeless. And they seem to also have another unique situation going on. Disappearing homeless people. They just turn up missing. Where are they going? Are they being murdered? Worse? Thrown into vats and ground up with other meat for dog food or something? I'm just guessing here. But what are they doing with them? Occultic satanic rituals? There's another press release I should share with you, but I don't know if I can stomach it. But apparently, and I saw some pictures associated with this one, but they had like a meat house or slaughterhouse with human beings beheaded and gutted, and looked like they had parts of the bodies on the shelves or hanging there, like it was a butcher place where they were going to eat the meat. And apparently these people, some of them had a particular type of disease that you only get from being a cannibal. This whole conversation is just too ludicrous. But I think it must be said, we must investigate. So the occult society pursuing an occult agenda. Most are not aware of that now, however. We are hopeful that many people of our country will become aware of it soon. We are optimistic that books like Fire in the Minds of Men will help make the general population aware of occult forces that are running the government and their lives. So look that book up, Fire in the Minds of Men. So here's Jordan Maxwell telling us about another author's book. That's decent of him. The following is an article from the grand jury of the state of Pennsylvania, published in 1800s. This stuff is not new. Dealing with Freemasonry and the Illuminati and the problems they were confronting in the state of Pennsylvania, USA, in the 1800s. Get it? Got it? Don't start giggling when somebody says Illuminati or witchcraft, Kabbalah, masters of other dimensions where they're getting material. From 1840 to 1940, and I have the books, we've gone over them, and we'll look at them again. But they had the Psychic Society of Europe, and then they had the Psychic Society of America, and people at high levels of society, from university professors, politicians, doctors, were all involved in all these investigating psychic research. Table rappings, ghosts, out-of-body experiences, coming back from the dead, communicating with seances, with people, entities on the other side. There's thick volumes of books, many of them, documenting all these facts. And to me, it's logical. We are spiritual beings in these biological bodies. So for me to believe that the spiritual being would exist without being in this biological body is certainly real. In the Bible, Jesus casting out demons. The Vatican having to train more exorcists. In the Middle East, in the desert, they had something called the jinn, or like the genie. There were just different names for these entities. During the Dark Ages, or not that long ago in Europe, they were burning witches at the stake. Priests were running around with forks, wooden forks, dowsing, finding water, gold and minerals, even lost people. The subconscious, spiritual conscience of we the people is actually much more powerful than most people are led to believe. The powers that be don't want you to know that. It makes you wonder with the secret schools of Babylon or the Illuminati and the Freemasonic lodges, where everybody has to swear under threat of death not to divulge the secrets they learn in the mystery schools. To get to the 3rd degree, 4th degree, 5th degree, 18th degree, 32nd degree, 33rd degree. It's just stuff we, the people, need to investigate and be aware of, and rather quickly. In the 11th report, State Investigations Committee on Education, published in 1953 by the California State Senate, it talks about the Illuminati. 1953, the California State Senate talks about the Illuminati. In the early 1910, 1920, in the United States, the congressional hearings in Washington, D.C., were having hearings about the Jewish problem. Look up the Jewish problem. Why did they call it the Jewish problem? Henry Ford wrote a lot about that, and I've got to do another one of his books I acquired. And maybe that'll be up soon. In dealing with the subject of communism, communism was created by the malevolent, evil Jewish persons, and not all Jewish persons are in on this, and a lot of Jewish persons probably aren't Jewish at all. In the Bible, the last book, if you open up the Bible to the last book, chapter, called Revelation, I think it's number 9, you will see it says in there, Jews who call themselves Jews but are not. How did somebody know this so long ago? Seems to me it's a lot of secret entities behind the scenes that don't seem to have a human consciousness or human feelings, apathy, concern. I think they're a cold-blooded reptilian type thinking. Like David Icke says in all his books, that there's some kind of reptilian creature that may be disguised as a shapeshifter. I know it gets weird. Taking over physical people like presidents and high-level people and infiltrating our society. Doesn't it say in the Bible that some reptilian creature talked Eve into eating an apple that God said, do not eat of this tree? Peru, when you look at the Ashkushka, Haushka, however you say it, the shamans eating of that vine. And then that one thing I showed in a video here a couple videos back on one of my Sky Spring videos. Maybe we'll take a glance at that again. But the one of the shamans could paint pretty well. So when he would return after taking the drug and going to the other side to maybe get some cures for some little girl who had some kind of illness, and he would, when he went to that realm, I guess bodily going there, not physical body, but he saw the surroundings. And when he came back, somebody from North America brought him some paint and some materials, and he started painting what he saw. And then we went over the videos of remote viewing with Tim Rifat and David Morehouse and other ones I have, which we'll go over again. So the government apparently is into this stuff seriously. The occult, and all kinds of other stuff going on in laboratories to develop things like plagues, AIDS, Ebola, maybe an Australian antigen plague, and they're sky spraying us on a regular basis. So at what day? Tomorrow, next week, next year, I don't know. And it seems like it's sooner than later, according to what we're going to talk about in the middle of this video, the next section. But they could start dumping some kind of pathogen, biological, mixed in with the chemical makeup. Maybe it's coal ash and slurry, salt water, even that uranium tainted water over there in Fukushima. If you go look pictures online, they're massively bringing in these new tanks every day, just away from the plant, and as you know, right next to it, and then moving backwards and backwards and backwards, and pumping in this uranium toxic water into these tanks. And I'm wondering, what are they going to do with all that water? And oh my God, everything else they've discovered, like microwave transmissions. When I worked at a major aerospace company, used to be a big sign over the big microwave dish. Do not stand in front of this dish. It could make you sterile or worse. It could microwave you, like being in a microwave oven. So I guess some genius military man happened to go there, look at the new microwave towers, and saw the warning and goes, "That can hurt you? Man, we could use that as a weapon." And now they have crowd control vehicles with big dishes on them, so that they can aim it at a crowd of people and just start microwaving them. The psychopaths we have running the world. And a lot of the people in the military were decent people, probably still some still there. But Obama administration and others have let a lot of them go in the last couple of years. It's made the headlines. You can go look it up. And apparently the test question was, will you fire on the American people if told to do so? And a lot of them said no. It's unconstitutional. They're not the enemy. And so they were let go. Generals, colonels, majors, all kinds of people. And replaced with whom? And who's in charge of all this weaponry? Microwave transmitters, lasers, other technologies, mind control, biological, power plants, water supplies. If the good guys were kicked out, who's in charge now? So in the 11th report, State Investigations Committee on Education, published in 1953 by the California State Senate, it talks about the Illuminati. If you go out and search for it, a copy can be obtained by your further investigation. So the 11th report, 1953, Committee on Education, search that, you'll probably find it online. I'll hold this up here, and you can pause it so you can see it. That's why I read from books here. I don't want you to be thinking I'm telling you stuff that where did I get it from. I got this brainstorm idea a couple years ago that people don't know what to believe. They told me they didn't know what to believe. So maybe I'm giving some of the stuff I report here and investigate here, but showing you the book and the pages. Maybe it just gives it a little more credibility. Maybe we could save this ship, the country of the USA. And apparently in Europe, devastation is going on insanely also. So unless when they take down the USA, probably Australia will go down. Europe, all those countries reeled in by the European Union orchestrators. Pierre Manat, one of these secret spies in the background who helped create the European Union, probably bribing presidents and other countries' leaders. And if you plug his name into the 666 calculator, Pierre Manat equals 666. Kissinger equals 666. Eric Schmidt, CEO for Google, 666. Newton Gingrich, I think, got a divorce because he wanted his wife to go to a swapping party. And according to Rabbi Marvin Adelman, those kind of activities are satanic activities. So I put 2 and 2 together and said Newton Gingrich's name must be 666. But I couldn't get it, and I searched it for a couple days. And I'm like scratching my head. Why did I pursue it? Why was I scratching my head? Why was I obsessed with finding it? That's another, there's something bigger going on. Seek and ye shall find is in the Bible, I think. So anyways, finally I ran across the Wikipedia, Newt Gingrich, and found out his name wasn't Newt Gingrich. He was adopted. It's Newton McPherson. And McPherson is 666. New York State, New York is 666. Where I'm at, North Carolina, strangely enough, is 888. I think that's the same number for Jesus. Something like that. So 888 is a good number. So that's North Carolina. And New York, if you plug it in, is 666. Boston bombing at 666 Boylston Street. Aleister Crowley changed the spelling of his name to be 666. Computer is 666. Verichip is 666. So something to this occult numerology thing. Interesting. We're going to find out it's more interesting than we ever thought. So get the Committee on Education published in 1953, the 11th Report State Investigations by California State Senate. It talks about the Illuminati. If you go out and search for it, a copy can be obtained but for your further investigation in dealing with the subject of communism and secret societies of communism. In 1953, on page 168, we will demonstrate further how important it is that you should know about as well as study this document. I think I'll make it my business to go find this document. Okay, moving on. I'm not reading everything here. And I'm actually not going to be able to get too much into this book, and I will peruse through it a little more so we can you can go buy the book. Library, bookstore, on the internet. Probably Jordan Maxwell would appreciate it. Spent a whole life studying. He's got a lot of books out there. Communism and Russia are by no means synonymous. Russia merely occupies the unfortunate position of being communist first victim. Communism is synonymous with world revolution and seeks the destruction of all nations and the abolish of patriotism, religion, marriage, family, private property, and all political and civil liberties, concerned with the establishment of a world dictatorship of the so-called proletariat, which is in fact an autocratic, self-constituted dictatorship by a small group of self-perpetuating revolutionaries. I think George Bush Jr. said it was annoying having to be a president and having to negotiate things, and if he was a king, he could just decree them. This is what these people want to do. All right. A bit later on, page 169, the document goes on to say, that would have been that 11th report we just talked about, so-called modern communism is apparently the same hypocritical and deadly world conspiracy to destroy civilization that was founded by the secret order of Illuminati in Bavaria on May 1, 1776. That would have been Adam Weishaupt at the behest of the Rothschilds family, who controlled the money in the banks. George Washington, when addressing the army, states, "My God, what can this writer have in view by recommending such measures?" George Washington, when addressing the army, states, "My God, what can this writer have in view by recommending such measures? Can he be a friend to the army? Can he be a friend of this country? Rather, is he not an insidious foe? some emissary, perhaps from New York. Remember, New York equals 666 in a 666 numerology calculator. Go online, find a calculator, 666 calculator. Plug in New York. I was shocked. Then in the next report, the California State Senate report continues. It is plain that George Washington believed that the then center of this conspiracy, so far in this country, was concerned, was to be located in the city of New York. Remember, New York is the Empire State. That's an empire. And don't forget, England, the UK, is called the United Kingdom. They don't have these names for nothing. All right. Moving on, page 14. We now know that there has been some sort of manipulation of our government, our money, our institutions, and our lives by our government. But what we don't realize is that there is a covert agenda. There is a method to the madness. And moving on here. In response to a letter sent to George Washington in 1798, warning him about the Masonic movement operating in America. 1798. This particular Masonic movement, referred to as the Illuminati, George Washington responded in a letter to the person saying, "It is not my intention to doubt that the doctrines of the Illuminati, the principles of Jacobinism," that's Jewish, some kind of Jewish evil religion, that was in Rabbi Marvin Annelin's book that we went over. So it's not my intention to doubt that the doctrines of the Illuminati, the principles of Jacobinism, has not spread into the United States. On the contrary, no one is more truly satisfied of that fact than I am. The idea that I meant to convey was that I did not believe that the lodges of Freemasonry in this country, as societies, have endeavored to proclamate the diabolical tenets of the pernicious principles of the latter. So George Washington, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe Jordan Maxwell. George Washington made that description diabolical. Jacobinism, Jewish. What George Washington was saying was the mere fact that someone had charged that the Illuminati was operating in America. That's 1800, 1900, 2000. That's 2,215, 20 years. And when they created the Federal Reserve in 1913, they've managed to, about every 10 years, crash the U.S. economy, where people couldn't pay their mortgage payments or their bills. And these elitists, Illuminati, Zionist, Jewish people in on the conspiracy, could buy up farmers' properties and manufacturing plants and everything else on pennies on the dollar. And everybody thought that the crash was a natural occurrence. Not a chance. There's too much evidence that it was all contrived. We've been ripped off over and over, at least 10 times since in the last 100 years. The 2008 stock market crash. How much money did so many people lose? What George Washington was saying was the mere fact that someone had charged that the Illuminati was operating in America. George Washington said, on the contrary, no one is more satisfied with that fact than I am. George Washington said, had the separation of the people from their government in view, let's see if I got that right, get it in context here. George Washington said, had the separation of the people from their government in view, it is too evident to be questioned. That may explain why today in the Democratic Party, democratic country like America, when the people make certain demands of the government, they experience no response. The people want this, the government doesn't respond. The people demand that, the government doesn't respond. Because the whole concept of the democratic process in America was purposely contrived to divide the people from their government so that the people could be out there working hard every day, taking care of their lives, feeding their children, and sending their politicians to Washington to look out for them. We all know that the elections are rigged. The Republican Party, the Democratic Party, are basically one and the same people finance them. So no matter which guy gets elected, or woman, the people behind the scenes, the Illuminati, the Zionists, the Jesuits, Church of Satan, and Bohemian Grove, and Club of Rome, and Bilderberger groups, and Heritage Foundation, Ford Foundation, all these groups that have been taken over, maybe started out originally as something decent. Like George Washington said, the Freemasonic lodges were infiltrated by the Illuminati. So I think I'll stop there. I'm just going to peruse some of the rest of this book and show you what's in here, so that you can get the book. Right here, Jordan shows that on the dime, remember the old dime, silver dime? The fascist symbol of world fascism, that would be those bundles of sticks there, is represented by a bundle of sticks as a handle made into an axe. That's representing control by Rome. The Jewish breastplate and papal headdresses are associated with the modern Freemasonic symbolism. See the Jewish breastplate on this guy? The square thing? And the headdress? Even the Rome church has been taken over. If it ever was anything decent, I'm not sure. But the people, a lot of the Christian people were decent. A lot of the Muslims, Islam, Buddhists, Hindu, they grew up with those religions. Eskimos, Mayans, Peruvians, Argentinian, Aborigines, Mongols, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, Vietnamese, Thai people, Mexicans. A lot of people are decent people who don't have this obsession with worshiping an evil being and taking over the world. Statue of Liberty, he explains that that's part of the goddess worship. These spikes on her head are the sun worship, and the torch is the light bearer, and Lucifer, the devil, is called the light bearer. The biblical Ark of the Covenant has its origins in the ancient Egyptian Ark of the Law. Jordan Maxwell explains a lot of these things. It's a book, you can see that I read it a long time ago, all my tabs there. The Washington Monument in the District of Columbia, the capstone of an obelisk, is known as a pyramidion. It's an ancient phallic symbol because apparently when Osiris, his brother, chopped him up into 17 pieces or something, Isis could find all the pieces except for one, the phallic, the male sex unit. So that's why that is. The all-seeing eye of the Illuminati is seen on the US dollar bill. We all know that. So there's just a lot of stuff in here about a lot of things that people should. Cross in the circle of the sun is a very common symbol in both ancient and modern times. So Jordan Maxwell is large into symbolism. A lot of your corporation signs. The double cross of Freemasonry can be seen on the corporate logo of the now defunct Exxon. Exxon, remember that? Look at the double cross. And then here we have Jesus was referred to as the chief cornerstone that the builders rejected. A chief cornerstone is the peak of the pyramid. Arco's corporate logo represents the missing chief cornerstone from an aerial view of the Great Pyramid. See that pyramid down there? That's an aerial view for Arco, and the capstone is missing. So he explains all this, how this game that these people play. On the US dollar bill, I've gone over this. If you look up on top of the one, where my finger is here, you'll see a little owl perched on your $1 bill. And remember the Bohemian Grove, they have a gigantic owl, and they toss a baby into the burning fire. They call the cremation of care. The White House, similar to England's Whitehall, both being symbols of Freemasonic origin. So there's just so much material in here. I'm not trying to read this guy's book 100%. The Egyptian goddess Isis with a child Horus, which represented Mary and the baby Jesus later. This is Maxwell's opinion. Then you see that big stone in Mecca where all the Islamic people go to pilgrimage. In Islam they got this gigantic black stone, iron, lodestone. And interestingly enough, in the United Nations meditation room, they have a big black stone. Meditation room. So this book is probably worth getting. I realize a lot of people don't have the patience or the attention span or the desire to seek out and know what the truth is. I pay attention to the press releases on the main street media, which I know is largely elitist owned, which are the Zionist Jewish folks, banksters, Illuminati, high-level Freemasons, and other fraternal groups and rich families and money that want to control and dominate other people and reduce the population because they believe, for selfish purposes, I believe, that there's too many people on the planet. And for the last couple hundred years, without a question, as John Quincy Adams, President of the United States, and George Washington, we just learned, and many others in many of the book reviews I've gone over, the New Age magazines published by the Freemasons, many books written by Jewish rabbis, and the basic fundamental knowledge in the Bible that back then when Pontius Pilate had arrested Jesus for rabble-rousing, angering the leadership of the Jews, Hebrews, and so they demanded that he get arrested to stop him from spreading his preaching. And Pontius Pilate, this guy's supposed to be the Son of God, Jesus, and of course he says, hey, I don't want this on my head to crucify Jesus. And so he wasn't going to do it, I guess. But the Jewish people, all of the crowd that was standing there said, no, let it be on our head. So they demanded that Pontius Pilate crucify Jesus. Now apparently, according to my understanding, and I'm no religious expert, no biblical scholar, but apparently the Jews can't kill their own religious thing. But they can have somebody else kill one of their own, which I guess maybe is allowed. I know that as they think of non-Jews as cattle or goyim, and of living only to be slaves to the Jews, I have to answer the phone. So anyways, I was rambling on about the seemingly established hatred of the Hebrews, the Jews, not all, because some Jews said that Jesus was the Messiah. He was preaching peace and care for your fellow man. And so for thousands of years, the Jews have been angry that Jesus didn't turn out to be the kind of Messiah that they wanted. He was a good man. And now, apparently, they're coming more out of the closet. Even Gene Simmons, is it? I talked about that in the last video on one of those pictures I had. And he says non-Jews are supposed to live only to be slaves for Jews. And apparently when they have this new revolution, like the French Revolution, Russian Revolution, all the ones, they intend to behead Christians. And a lot of people in the streets in the New Age have been mind controls, watching the cartoons, believing there's no God, believing the propaganda, believing that Jesus was a myth. I've had best friends of mine scream at me and say, the Bible's been proven false. He's a myth. Meanwhile, they're having satanic rituals by these elitists ruling the world, worshiping the devil, Satan, Lucifer, Ra, Osiris, and many other names, Baal. So anyways, there's a document, July 27th. The persecutions of Christians is intensifying as anti-Christian hatred sweeps the entire world. Wow. You gotta look this up yourself. Sweeps the entire world. And why not? The United States is a so-called Christian nation. A lot of people overseas don't really know what's going on here. And a lot of people here in the USA really don't know what's going on over there. So somebody who's causing all this seething hatred between everybody, that's called the divide and conquer tactic that the Jews, bad ones, have used for centuries, millennium. There is very little that the entire world seems to agree upon, but there is one very frightening trend that is now taking hold literally all over the globe. A passionate hatred of Christianity is sweeping across the planet. And very few global leaders have been willing to step forward and speak out against this rising persecution of Christians. And I know what it is. It's the same people who are fermenting all the problems in the Middle East and the Ukraine and causing revolutions. It's probably just the Illuminati hiring mercenaries. Call them assassins, hitman, guerrilla fighting. People who will take $25,000 and go behead a couple people on some kind of camera, blaming it on the Islam people to try to get the Christians mad. And then the same mercenaries would go behead a couple Christians and blame it on the Islam Muslims so to get all the Muslims mad, when in fact it was neither the Muslims or the Christians that was beheading anybody. It was the Illuminati, Zionism, Jesuits, Church of Satan, banksters, evil people, high-level Freemasons, and all the other fraternal secret school of Babylon lodges and temples and churches and organizations throughout the world. Okay, so very few are speaking out against this rising persecution of Christians. In many parts of the Middle East, Africa, and Asia, believers are being relentlessly attacked by extremists. And again, I think they're just hired mercenary hitmen. Churches are being destroyed. When the Bolshevik Jews took over Russia in the Bolshevik Revolution, they killed 60, maybe more, plus or minus, million Christians and other good people, destroyed all the Christian churches, but not the Jewish temples. You can look that up, the Bolshevik Revolution. And this 20 million was admitted in one of the Israeli leading newspapers. But they say 66 million or maybe 100 million. But they basically killed off a lot of the population in Russia that were not Jewish folks. In other words, cattle to be done away with. Okay, churches are being destroyed and laws are being passed to try to prevent the spread of the Christian faith. And we know in the USA, they're shutting the Christian faith off of all the schools, but they'll allow you to have Halloween and they'll put the posters downtown with the goddess posters I showed you in the last video, and the New Age, and the Satanism, and skull and bones tattooed on everybody's arm and chest and face and head. Insane TV programmings with the all-seeing eye. So they're allowing this Luciferic religion to be promoted everywhere, sponsored by the government, the gay agenda, Agenda 21. But they're definitely focused on eliminating Christianity. Why? In some areas, the violence has become so extreme that the Christians knowingly risk their own lives just to go to church services each week. Would you risk your life to go to church? In North America and Europe, the persecution is often more subtle. Even though violent attacks are still fairly rare, Christian beliefs are being undermined by new laws. Comedians, Sarah Silverstein on TV, the comedian, said, yeah, we killed Jesus. If he came back again, we'd kill him again and again. I mean, the insanity. Comedians' beliefs are being undermined. Christian beliefs, comedians and television shows regularly mock the Christian faith, and many employers will immediately mentally disqualify a potential candidate for a job if they discover that the individual is a Bible-believing Christian. Sadly, this is just the beginning. In the years ahead, those who choose to be followers of Jesus Christ will face even greater persecution than we have seen already. When most people think of Christian persecution, they immediately think of what is happening in the Middle East. And without a doubt, the ISIS is doing to Christians in Iraq and Syria is beyond horrifying. Remain, ISIS was created probably by the CIA, NATO, Pentagon, the elites running the world. So they want to ferment Christian hatred. But to start off the list, let's begin with the ISIS has been treating Christians in areas that they have conquered. In Iraq, Ezra Griswold is the author of The 10th Parallel, dispatches from the fault line between Christianity and Islam, and he has spent a great deal of time examining the demise of the Christian faith in the heart of the Middle East. 2, in Kenya, as I discussed above, the persecution of Christians in the Middle East is only part of the story. We're getting much less coverage is the horrific persecution that is going on in many parts of Africa. India, it isn't just Muslims that are viciously persecuting Christians. In India, radical Hindus are regularly conducting violent attacks against Christians. Pakistan, Nigeria, China, Nepal, Italy, Canada. Canada is becoming increasingly hostile to Bible-believing Christians, and attacks on churches are becoming more common. United States, if Christians stay in their homes and don't say anything, normally they don't get physically persecuted in this country. But in recent years, there has been an increasing number of incidents where street preachers and others that do try to actively influence the culture have been violently assaulted. So I'll say this, it's pretty clear there is a Luciferic agenda going on. Alright, next document here. I have them on the ground. Decoding the symbols of the satanic temples of the Baphomet statue. There's been a lot of talk about this, but they got this statue of the devil you can see here. And they're supposed to, we all know about the unveiling of the satanic statue of Baphomet in Detroit last week. But did you know what the symbol means? BBC News investigates. A controversial statue unveiled by the Satanic Temple at a secret ceremony in Detroit has attracted protest. But who is the goat-headed figure? And what do the elements of statue symbolize? The bronze statue is nearly 9 feet tall and depicts a winged hermaphrodite, that's half man, half woman, known as Baphomet, flanked by 2 smiling children. Long term, the Satanic Temple wants to move the piece 900 miles southwest and erect it opposite the 10 Commandments outside the Oklahoma City Capitol building. And apparently the Oklahoma said, we're not going to allow you to do that, but we will take down the 10 Commandments. So the satanic people probably got what they wanted. It wasn't even about Christianity, because the 10 Commandments came hundreds, thousands of years before Jesus. Wasn't that Moses bringing them down from the mountains to the Jews, the Hebrews? And when he came down the mountain, didn't they gather together all their gold and make a golden calf? And they were worshiping the golden calf, which was the religion of the Egyptians, having a drunken orgy. And Moses got so upset he smashed the tablets. So what it is, it's Jews gone bad is probably a good way to put it. And a lot of good Jews, like if you look up Zionism and images, a lot of good Jews are trying to expose this about these bad Jews. Good Jews gone bad. Went over to the dark side. The Baphomet will complement and contrast the Christian commandments, which include unconstitutional prohibitions against free speech and free exercise of religion, according to the organization. Our statue will serve as a beacon, calling for compassion and empathy among all living creatures, says Lucian Greaves. Lucian Greaves. There's a name you want to name your child. Lucian, of course, obviously a spin-off of Lucifer. And Greaves seems like the Grim Reaper, the group's co-founder. I wonder if he changed his name to be Lucian Greaves. He hopes people of all ages will sit in the lap of Satan for inspiration and contemplation. It's a nice little tourist attraction. People would travel a great distance to see it. The name Baphomet, the name dates back to the Inquisition and torture of the Knights Templar about 1100 years ago, 1100 after Christ, according to the French chroniclers of the Crusades, confessed to worshipping a heathen idol called Baphomet. So they got some comments here. I'll just start reading a couple of those. The epithet of Baphomet is the goat of Mendes. Mendes being the ancient Egyptian city where the ram deity Baphomet was worshipped. Although the ancient Greek historian Herodotus acknowledged that Baphomet worshippers sacrificed sheep, he described Baphomet as being represented with the head of a goat. Okay, moving on. Some guy here says, if contemporary Satanists were a bit smarter instead of merely sensationalists, they would not have chosen to prolong the 19th century Western misrepresentations of ancient myths. So there is this world conflict, like Alex Jones says, information war and war for the minds of people, away from God, Jesus, the Holy Spirit, morality, and there is one towards Aleister Crowley's satanic killing babies, pedophilia, and do anything you want, religion and morality. It's clear. All right, any more comments here? Aleister Crowley believed he was Levi in a previous life. A.E. Waite used Levi's image as the basis for his terror trump, the devil, but this is a distortion, according to Levi's view of Baphomet as a deity of the old religions. So there's a lot of talk about this, and you can just look up the pictures. Alright, and it gets even worse. We got them trying to destroy Christianity, trying to promote this satanic baffling dude, which looks like the devil with horns, women's breast, a male torso, and goat's feet. Jade Helm, the Pope, Walmart, and Final Disposition. Jade Helm is moving right along, apparently. Started July 15th. Actually, it was getting in gear before then. But some very weird stuff is going on, and this document was August 7th, 2015, by Dave Hodges. The Dave Hodges Common Sense Show. So now it comes out, Walmart, they said they were closing them all because of plumbing problems. But if you look inside the Walmarts, it doesn't look like it has anything to do with plumbing. All the shelving has been removed. Empty Walmarts and big dump trucks full of shelving. We are very certain that the Pope is going to announce a thinly veiled world government September 25th, so that's next month. In his United Nations address, of course, it will be disguised as a unified front to combat climate change. And again, I'm wondering, when has the climate not changed? The climate is as normal now as it has ever been, besides the problem of the sky spraying and the HARP system and the government controlling the weather, creating these horrible disasters and storms, which you can look up and see on the internet and YouTube. Look up Dane Wigington, geoengineering. It's part of the New World Order, New Age, destroying all the resources so that the people will submit to the New World Order. And when they do shut down all the supermarkets and everything else, they don't want people to live off the land. They have to destroy all the critters and edibles. It's my observation. Alright, make no mistake about it, climate change is an excuse, is the excuse. Erasure of all national sovereignty and civil liberties is the goal. You can look up this document. Do you remember when I published the following pictures taken at Big Spring, Texas? Resident Marlon Brook, as he took these photos of large trucks hauling away all of the shelving from the Midland, Texas Walmart. And of course, this was all done in the name of fixing the plumbing. They're lying to us. They have lied to us. As photographed by Marlon Brook in early June, massive amounts of shelving has been hauled away. Let's see. What is all this leading towards? Would it surprise anyone to know that Sam Walton was previously in the prisoner of war business prior to the founding of Walmart and Sam's Club? Would it further surprise you to know that Walton was connected with a Rockefeller-owned major defense contractor known as DuPont? And this is after Sam Walton was connected to JCPenney's as he learned about retail distribution. Walmart, the NSA, National Security Agency, the military, local law enforcement, in Adamsville, Alabama. This is crazy here. So Adamsville, an Adamsville City Hall representing at least 5,000 citizens. And we're talking something like Mayberry. Adamsville armed with police station headquarters, barely large enough to accommodate Andy and Barney from Mayberry. The town is large enough for a Walmart supercenter. 14 military vehicles, a command and control vehicle. Adamsville is host to clandestine meetings between the NSA, the military, and local law enforcement agencies as far as 20 miles. A Walmart supercenter in the rural town, which has a population of 4,522 and is 15 miles from Birmingham. An example of the militarization of this small town is evidenced by the black MRAP. The black MRAP, I shrunk it down, but it's in the middle of that picture. You can see the other military truck there. Is this what they need in Adamsville to hand out parking tickets? Special Operations Group and an MRAP here. Conclusion. We need to put more eyes on all Walmarts across the country. So moving on to another document. Just trying to get this stuff out because I think it's important. Storm warning. So they want to make the Arabs out to be, the Islam people out to be devils. So there's this guy living down there in the Pacific Islands. His name is John Little. Storm warning, Omega shock. The biggest social, economic, and political storm that the world has ever seen barrels down upon us. Yet, almost everything seems to be fine. But that is how storms behave. There is always a wonderful calm before the storm hits. But that calm will only last for a few weeks more. So he's saying the calm is only going to be here for a couple more weeks on August 7th. And already we can see the clouds of this storm on the horizon. Are you understanding what I'm saying, this guy is saying, when this stuff we're looking at? However, this is more than just a storm, it is a typhoon. So he's using a metaphor here. We got a typhoon coming. I pray that God will spare you in the midst of what is coming upon us. Financial typhoon begins in September, October 2015. According to Martin Armstrong and a few others, next month will mark the end of this period of calm. Martin Armstrong is the best financial weatherman I know of. Of course, if you look out the window and see everyone going about their life as if everything is normal, I would highly suggest people consider, it's not a lot of money, Sam's Club, what, $20 for a gigantic bag of rice? $13 for a gigantic bag of beans? $100. $7 for a case of corn, canned corn? Coffee, toothpaste? I think everybody should have a little reserve in the pantry right now. Think about where they're going to get water from. Any batteries, electricity will probably be shut off. Water will probably be shut off. How are you going to do the toilet facilities? It's not hard. I did it when I grew up in Maine. We did not have an indoor toilet when I was a young boy. It's not horrible. You build an outhouse, you dig a hole, and after a month or so it starts to fill up. You fill in the hole and you go dig another hole and move the outhouse. That's a sanitary way to do it. But don't put the outhouse near your water supply if you have a creek or something. Just saying, a little common sense goes a long ways. But if all this happened, I suspect it'll be pretty disruptive for a couple months. But I think that the other issue is, do we all become soldiers? And do we have to go out there and try to destroy the enemy that is evidently going to be trying to destroy us? I guess that's every individual's decision. Or you're going to get on the bus where they tell you there's food down there at that FEMA camp. In the back room they have the guillotines. Or the little thing they want to inject in your arm. So there you go. Let me read a little more. What a difference a day makes. So as the fantastic civilization-destroying storm barrels down upon us, you can expect the same. The days and week leading up to the storm will feel pleasant and wonderful, just before they aren't. Moving on here on this, guys. I thought it was pretty important. That's why I printed out like 14 pages here. The invasion by Islam. This guy seems to be really bashing Islam, which is part of the New World Order divide and conquer tactic. We have known since George Bush Sr., the last 20 years, they've been invading the Middle East and killing people. Israel's been killing the Palestinian land and growing its country since 1946. Just look up maps of Israel and you'll see they started out with a little piece and more and more and more and more. Now the Palestinians only have a little piece of their land left. I've been writing about Islam for a very, very long time, since the 90s. It is the reason why Israel suffers so much trouble. Israel suffers so much trouble because they moved right in the middle of the Arabs' land and started taking over. Which, for the same reason, is why for 2,000 years they called it this dispersion or a diaspora, when the Jews were forced to leave Israel. And a lot of people gave them trouble, but countries would welcome them. But then after a certain amount of time, the irritation would start, and the upheaval would start, and the Hebrews, with their philosophy and business techniques and tactics, would wind up owning everything and not share anything with the country that had invited them in. So they were run out of that country to the neighboring country, who couldn't figure out why that country ran them out, and they would welcome them in. And a few years later, they would be run out of there. A lot of them, and not all Jews, wore out their welcome because of their particular religion and business operations and society relations with other people. They never wanted to integrate and become part of the societies or the countries where they were welcomed to. But a lot of Jewish people did. And again, like I said, you look up Zionism in images and you will see good Jews warning about bad Jews. Rabbi Marvin Antleman, Volume 1, Volume 2, To Eliminate the Opate, that means to eliminate Christianity, belief in God. Henry McCall, PhD author in Canada, famous, wrote the book, Illuminati, the Cult That Hijacked the World. And I could go on and on and on. A lot of good Jews have been trying to warn us. So I guess you can't be what they so-called anti-Semite if you think there are good Jewish people. But a lot of Christians are fake Christians and are in on this New World Order, New Age, satanic Lucifer worship, as well as Muslims and Arabs and Buddhists and Hindus and atheists and agnostics. A lot of people can be evil from wherever they come from. But predominantly you now have a nation, Israel, that has taken over the United States in the last 100 years and been using the United States, fooling the American people to help try to take over the world. And now we have the world hating us. So it is the reason why Israel suffers so much trouble. It is the reason why for the Dark Ages of Europe. It is why the U.S. Marines are such a battle-hardened force. It is why Thomas Jefferson spent so much money on the U.S. Navy. It is why China has so much trouble in the Northwest. It is why the Philippines have so much trouble in Mindanao. They are the scourge of Africa and everywhere. In fact, there is nowhere in the world that they are not a source of death and destruction. You can believe that if you want to, but you just saw the other document. They already are, and they will start increasing it. They're going to say the same thing about Christians. Make no mistake about it. It's becoming very clear. I don't remember when which Israeli general politician said it, but he said something like this: when a population of a society reaches 10% Muslims, you have trouble. There was a firestorm of criticism when he said it, but he was completely right. Muslims are only pacified when they are the tiniest minorities. Islam isn't a religion, it's a disease. So those people that were growing up and growing olives or farming or cattle for thousands of years, from 1000 to 1300 AD, when the Christians went over there on the Crusades with the Pope and the kings and knights and all that, and went all along the northern Mediterranean and through Bosnia and Greece and Turkey, and slaughtered people along the way for supplies and got to Jerusalem and the Middle East and proceeded to murder and slaughter all of the Arabs. And how many of those Arabs were not even Islamic? All those Arabs in the Middle East are Christian, Islam, atheists, agnostics, Hindu, Buddhists. They're all not Islam, but they don't distinguish between that. So Satanism, let's see here. It is remarkable how similar Satan is to Islam. Well, it's certainly remarkable how Zionism is similar to Satanism. The symbols are all the same. The pentagon, the circle with the star. That's Israeli, the six-pointed star. King Solomon had a magic ring with a six-pointed star on it that he could call forth the demons. That's where he got his power. Now that's Satanism, that's Luciferianism, isn't it? So this guy is saying that Satanism is to Islam, and yes, Satanism is a disease too. Well, the Kabbalah is all about witchcraft and magic. Hollywood and the occult about witchcraft and magic. The Illuminati and the Freemasons, all their symbols are about witchcraft and magic. Church of Satan is witchcraft and magic. That Babylon devil is witchcraft and magic. Homosexuality being promoted by the government and forced on the people with transgenderism, where the guy is holding, just like a girl, a sign saying he bets hell is fabulous, is witchcraft and magic. Am I missing something here? Are we supposed to embrace and love the idea to go to hell? And Aleister Crowley's bragging about killing children and pedophilia? And the elites over in Europe with Mr. Sewell, however you say his name, providing children for the elites to do pedophilia? And then when they went to investigate it, it went so high that they had to cease the investigation for national security purposes. Look it up. Then there was that one case in the Chicago area, that book I showed you here in the USA, same thing. It was a bank scandal, really gone bad, with all the child sex and human transportation and pedophilia. And then the Bohemian Grove and the satanic rituals now of abducting children and people and sacrificing them. Today, these days, putting that devil statue in Detroit or Oklahoma and now Arkansas. So this guy here is doing propaganda. So this means the followers of Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, and all the other isms will go to hell. Islam is a death cult. Genocide, why Islam succeeded. And no, the crescent moon is not the great symbol of Islam. It is the sword that is the true symbol of Islam. For it is about wholesale genocide that Islam is spread. Islam wants you dead. Yes, as a group, Islam is trying to kill you. Well, here in the United States, we have a lot of people. And I know people get upset. Why can't I check into a motel that's owned by an American? But I think it's behind the scenes politicking. Alright, a little more. Is the famous conspiracy about a secret government that runs the world completely nonsense, or does the idea actually have any supporting evidence? So here it says, Eustelin believes that among the group's major objectives are centralized control of all foreign and domestic policies, a new world order with no middle class, just rulers and servants, one international identity and one set of universal values, mind control of the world's population, imposing a universal legal system, making NATO the world's military, manufactured crises and perpetual wars. The cryptocracy or shadow government concept is a very popular conspiracy theory. According to this popular, real and actual political powers does not reside with democratic elected public representatives, but with an elite set of individuals who exercise power behind the scenes. This secret government is not responsible to democratic institutions. Furthermore, according to conspirologists, official governments are subservient to it. The author points out that the Bilderberg Club is not acting alone. It has influential secret partners, two groups of global power brokers, the U.S.-based Council of Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, founded in 1973 by David Rockefeller, who at the same time was a leading Bilderberger CFR chairman. And early in 1910-1920s, the Rockefellers went out of their way to take over the medical establishment and ridicule and stop the practice of homeopathic medical doctors with herbs and remedies other than a scalpel. And also, this is the most insidious thing they did, forced fluoride in the water supplies across the country of the USA, where Harvard did a review. You look all this up, take notes when I say things, and if you can't prove it, let me know in the comment section. I'll send it to you. But the Harvard did a study on fluoride and proved that it lowered the IQ of people in the areas where fluoride was in the water. So now you got books like that book I went over, the Israeli test, I looked at the last video, where they claim to have higher IQs. Well, I suppose if you put fluoride in the water of people that you want to be slaves, so they do have lower IQs, I suppose you could probably get an honest answer. And if you mind control them with the school systems and the medications you give them and the cartoons, and you can really dumb down the people. A triple alliance is advocating a global superstate with the U.S. and other nations ceding their sovereignty to as a global central power. George Bush Sr. said the U.S. citizens will pledge allegiance to the United Nations, this new world order. Imagine a private club where presidents, prime ministers, international bankers, and generals rub shoulders. Where gracious royal chaperones ensure everyone gets along, and where the people running the wars, markets in Europe and America say whatever they never dare say in public. However, according to other researchers, the club is unfairly demonized. Regardless of their purported goals, neither the Bilderberger Group nor the CFR, with the Trilateral Commissions, have got enough political and economic resources to rule the world. Experts say, insisting that evidently the devil is not so black as he is painted by cosmos conspiracyologists. So I was looking at this thing here, and NATO blast report warning of risk of war with Russia. Troika bailout deal declares war on Greek people. That's another thing too. I watched a video or press release. And for the first time, Greece has allowed military jets to land there and make a base. So did they take down the country of Greece because they were not cooperating? Seems likely they do that wherever they can, these New World Order folks. Russian pundits split over Bernie Sanders' wildcard candidacy. Libya peace talks underway while thousands flee the lawless state. So all these countries that they killed the presidents, they leave worse devastation behind. That's what they want to do to the USA, it seems. They cut off the food supply, people will start going crazy. Bring back border control. German police ask for help to deal with migrants. So all over the world, they're pulling back on the money and creating the economic hardships. And migrants who are just trying to get some money and feed their family are becoming the threat of the world. Yet again. India is seeking to buy liquefied natural gas from Iran. Alright, now the worst one for last. How's that? Next phase of Jade Helm 15 Psych-Op rolled out military train from Virginia through South Carolina with strikers stretching as far as the eye can see. I guess these are strikers, these tanks. Remember, from Virginia to South Carolina. Alright, correction has been made to reflect the exact location of the video. Pictures seen in this story. In the brand new first video below from Frank Enzell, E-Z-E-L-E-E-L-L, we see a massive train from Virginia moving southbound through Spartanburg, South Carolina. This is dated, when I cut and pasted, I guess I didn't copy the date, but it's a recent one. You can look it up. 140 machines of war, including 50 strikers, that stretched as far as the eye could see. This is just the latest sighting of a military trains carrying heavy-duty military equipment through America, including 3 massive military train convoys seen last August 7th alone, a few days ago, in this Jade Helm season. With September now approaching, we also now learn that the next phase of the Jade Helm PSYOP has been rolled out according to this linked activist post story shared in the second video from the citizens of Gotham. So go look up this document. Don't believe me. In the third video, Professor Doom breaks down this massive convoy, as well as shows us another lengthy military vehicle convoy traveling through Indiana, and asks if all these latest sightings of machines of war on American soil are really recently are tied to Jade Helm 15. Or is seeing so many military convoys such as this in America somehow the new normal in our republic as we edge towards economic Armageddon? So it says here, the first video shows an entire train that drove through Magnolia Station, with many of the military vehicles on this train seen in the screenshots above. Below the videos, for those who are unable to watch the videos or prefer not to do so. Certainly with a country addicted to military powers such as the U.S., this train provides a show of strength, but is making others wonder what they are all for. As one very observant YouTube commenter mentions, color schemes suggest somewhere other than Middle East. The APC tires instead of tracks suggest urban configuration. Streets, not countryside. Another commenter shares, "Thank you for sharing. I wonder where it is heading. Florida, Alabama, Mississippi. Still feel such heaviness in the air. And I'm not talking about the humidity." Is what is going on in Ferguson. I guess Ferguson has raised its ugly head again with riots and problems. Missouri, right now, somehow tied to Jade Helm. Are we now watching a massive psyop against the American people designed to end in a boot stamping upon the human face forever? Activist breaks down the state of emergency that has been called Ferguson and ties it to the bigger, are we witnessing the beginning of the end of liberty and justice in America? The solution to this subtle mainstream media story rolling out state of emergency is to understand what it means in the bigger picture and the importance of understanding your rights. Be calm and always know your rights regardless of any lockdown and any other government-staged event of aggression dressed as being for your protection. Take this moment to become more familiar with the true concept of freedom. Ask yourself, do you really need government to keep you safe? Are you on earth to be protected by a concept known as government? You are not. Take this time to convince yourself how useless government really is. All the functions of government can be accomplished by cooperative, incentive-based society, or with a bottom-up structure of government where the people tell the government what to do. Under this structure, the people could carry the power of the sword and the power of the purse. Yes, the people would, not a tiny group of power-hungry oligarchs. The following alert comes to us from Steve Quayle, shares by readers. Heads up, Oklahoma. I live in Norman, Oklahoma, very east edge of town. Was awoke approximately 3 a.m., 11 August 2015, by sounds of powerful helicopter noise. Went outside to witness several helicopters without nav lights on, circling over Norman with partial clouds overcast. Approximately 3,500 AGL silhouettes appeared to be UH-60s. Visible to south approximately 1 mile, about 1,000 AGL, was one UH-72 Lakota, distinguished by a very vibrant LED nav lights turned on. Lakotas have a high-speed rotor, making a buzzing sound unlike the traditional whoop-whoop of lower-speed traditional rotors. It was hovering near Highway 9 and 24th Street. I heard approaching helicopters approaching from the east. One helicopter began entering a partial hover approximately a mile from me, around 32 AGL. I mean, it's so 3,200 feet overhead, is that what he's saying? Partially visible in dark cloud was one CH-47G hovering with nav lights on, and ramp appeared open. A model very familiar to me. It had a large saddle tanks and in-flight refueling probe. So here, several parachutes dropped with lapse deployment to cleared field about a mile east of me, which is slightly higher in elevation. So somebody's getting ready for something big. I left for work 1 hour later, and upon turning onto Main Street, I saw two individuals on each side of the street dressed in civilian short pants and button-up shirt. Each was different in its civilian attire. Both held flashlights pointed down the street. They each had a very large black backpack, about 3 feet tall, 2 feet diameter, strapped with the exact same type of reflective belt, secured in this exact same fashion, toward the University of Oklahoma. I passed more than 16 such individuals walking into town. All had excellent haircuts, all looked young, straight out of probably Rangers school. No one looked over E4 rank and age. So who are these warriors they have here dispersing throughout the USA? People like this have been sighted everywhere. They're big, they're strong, cut hair. Pretty scary. Some say it could be Russians or something. Foreign troops. Alright, here we go. Around 11 o'clock, 3 CH-47s, which I believed were from the 160th, flew north across Lake Straightly Draper out to Tinker Air Force Base. I assume for fuel, an ops brief at transient tent. Could you please post your Q alerts? Here's some pictures here. Concerning? Alright, so we got another comments from regular people here. This is not some training exercise. I spent 31 years in military and government service. NATO forces already have equipment pre-staged all over the world. This hardware is going to be used in the CONUS. Who knows for what, but an event is brewing, that's for certain. Jade Helm 15 is not an exercise. It is for gathering GPS and real-time human intelligence, or boots on the ground, coordinating real-time targeting info, and downloading it to Skynet server systems. Frogging sensor cars have been riding my neighborhood, scanning and mapping grid coordinates again. I have seen 2 times this past 3 weeks. They are moving fast. Can't get a camera on it. Police are not far behind it, so no chasing it down. Let the games begin. Good luck, Siempa Phi. Keeping my powder dry. That's what I'm saying. They got a war coming. You don't go with the Lucifer thing and you're not willing to give up on Jesus. Will that make you the enemy? Alright, moving on. Notice that most of the vehicles have been repainted from desert colors to forest camo. Our military is being issued the same. Norfolk, Virginia is the likely destination for a shipment to Europe. I have heard of NATO maneuvers this December. Remember that NORAD was having maneuvers on 9/11, including gaming the scenario of airliners being used as terrorist weapons. What a coincidence that the game seemingly went live. So they were having some kind of military war games on 9/11, having all the U.S. Air Force planes stand down. Anyway, more comments I want to read. Jojo the Bean. For out a week we have massive helicopter movements overhead. All kinds, and I was going to take pics, but it seems now it has dropped off to regular movements. Don't know much about military equipment, only what I see in the movies. One day FEMA was set up at the National Guard Training Center here in Middle Tennessee, and I waved at some soldiers out there, and they gave me a look of go to hell. They don't seem to be friendly down here and seems to never want to talk to anyone because they used to come in a little market down the road for biscuits, and for some reason they stopped coming in like they used to. All this is a mess and doesn't look good for the American people. Another one here, right? Old Man JB says, I know what you mean about not being friendly. Here in Groveport, Ohio, at Rickenbacker Air National Guard, my daughter and I were driving by the base and passed a gate with 2 guardsmen, armed, protecting the gate. We waved to them, and they clearly saw us wave, but the looks they gave us were out of the ordinary. It looks could kill. We would have been dead. We passed 2 more gates, and the same. It used to be we would see these guardsmen off base at a fast food place, and they would be nice enough. They always talked and smiled, but not now. Makes me think they may know something we do not. It's hard to smile at someone you plan to kill, unless you're a psychopath. ANP Live, Free or Die guy says, yeah, every day it's something new with China devaluing currency and all the other signs we're seeing. September looks right on target for whatever it is they're planning. We'd like to know soon, considering we're only weeks away from September now. Anyways, there's more comments here. Go look this document up. A couple more pictures of vehicles. What the heck is going on? Here I'm trying to do book reviews and real life is passing in front of me. It's probably scarier than in some of the books I'm reading. Alright. Just looking to see if there's any more I want to read from the comments. There you go. Little Captain says, what is your take on the vehicles of people reporting seeing digging lakes and such? Not long ago on I-49 traveling in western Missouri, saw a convoy of bobcats and backhoes. Traveling southbound, interestingly enough though, there was a black van, blacked out windows, that was heading up the convoy, and one pulling up the rear, the one that was actually in the front. So the only reason I can think that they're digging big holes is they plan on putting a lot of bodies in them. If we weren't seeing so many of these all across America recently, we'd probably buy the trolls saying this is normal military movement. But it's been happening everywhere lately. With that unlimited printing press publishing of counterfeit money, that's the USA government just printing money and paying for all this stuff, paying for all the weapons to be used against the USA people, our own money. Is that what's going on? You hit it right on the head. Obama is building up a new world order, and from the looks of it, it's not a good thing for the people. Thanks for reading ANP. So this is All News Pipeline. Look at the headline, go look it up. And I'll end this video with my picture show. Oh. All right. Let the picture show begin. I guess we should start out with a very exciting picture that should scare everybody. They got these stones here in North Georgia, just south of me, about an hour and a half, 2 hours. Eberton, Georgia, called the Georgia Guidestones. In the very top sentence, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. So, erected by somebody called R.C. Christian. Unite humanity with a living new language. That's right out of the Bible. Remember when the people were dispersed and they were made to babble with all kinds of different languages? So all this stuff is going on, and this is what a lot of people are choosing to do. When I was watching videos, I took my camera and took pictures of certain ones I thought were interesting. But I try to talk to people. Nobody wants to pay attention. Stop chemtrails. Wake up, look up, and speak up. They can spray everybody all day long. Nobody seems to care. Everybody seems to be ignoring all this stuff going on. And we are going to act surprised on the day that it happens. A world parliament, a world police force, a single world currency, a world taxation system. If anybody thinks this is a good thing, they need to read some of the writings by some of the Zionists and the Masons and Illuminati and even the Vatican and the Jesuits, and listen to what some of these elitists say. Bill Gates, Ted Turner, George Soros, Benjamin Netanyahu. They're telling us George Bush, New World's coming, and people are going to pledge their allegiance to the United Nations. And all over the world, it should be obvious to anybody that they're mass murdering the citizens. So ban documentaries. Episode 2, What Really Happened at Sandy Hook. Look at these, go look these videos up. Sandy Hook was staged to program the people. And the Unity Project, go look up this website on the Unity Project. They got all these organizations, and it's all a Luciferian communist takeover type stuff. You can see the name of these videos in the below. The Unity Project, if you go read their webpage, letting go of anger and blame, community resilience, cooperation, the Unity Project. So no matter how many people they kill, and how many people they rob, and when they take away your freedom, they want you to let go of anger and blame. So they want to teach all humanity as one family. Sounds nice enough. Harmony in science and spirituality. Sounds nice enough. Universal education. Sounds nice enough. Institutions for world peace. But look what they have done, not what they're saying. They're lying to us. My next video will probably show you that. But the people who are taking over the planet right now, the Zionist Jewish folks, and a lot of others in cahoots, including the Vatican, a lot of Orthodox churches here in the United States saying the Jews are chosen people, and apparently the Lucifer worship is their desired God. Look at this guy. They're doing a speech at Sandy Hook. But look at this guy in the background praying. So here you got this guy from the Unity Project doing a speech, Newtown, Connecticut. But look at this guy praying. He's not a Christian person. A world superstate, a world legislator, a world parliament, a world police force. And people are going to resist this. And they don't believe that you should be owning property or having any rights. And everybody should serve the elitists. There's no middle class. I keep saying that. I keep trying to remind people that. No middle class. Single world currency, a single world taxation, implementation of Agenda 21, sustainability. You even get rationed about what you're going to get. You're not going to be a free citizen. Go watch this video. Title's right below. And then they got Jewish Baha'i community leader John Woodall, Jewish organizations running this. See that Baha'i down there on the bottom next to my finger? These are evil institutions. Baha'i teaching for the New World Order. See, I'm not making this up. This is important stuff. And here you go. Look on the dollar bill. This is a six-pointed star made up of all those little stars. It gets worse. The propaganda is insane. Hitch your wagon to a star. This is supposed to represent all the people killed in Sandy Hook. Hitch your wagon to a star. This is part of the speeches they had at a ceremony. Thanking Providence, not God. And everybody should learn to be united. Memory Hole. MemoryHoleblog.com. Go look this stuff up. Watch this video. You don't think it's insane? Is this even rational? Is this anything but not insane? Having exercises where they do this in the classroom. Look at the guy by the door with the gun. When I was a kid, we used to practice getting under the desk for a nuclear explosion. But now they have all these military people practicing invading the schools. They're going to try to make all this normal as they start purging all the decent people, Christians and moral people and people who don't want to get marked, don't want to be enslaved, who don't want to have the Constitution taken away, have their guns taken away. They're bringing this to us. They were even sending out the alerts before Sandy Hook started. Like the New Times reporter is time-stamped. So they were saying the event was happening before it was happening. These people don't seem very bright in their organizational skills. But they got time-stamped evidence that this thing was being announced and reported, things like Twitter and stuff, before it was even going on. Go watch the video, don't believe me. Crisis mapping, human data computation. So they're going to have computers running this whole thing, deciding who gets arrested, incarcerated, beheaded. They monitor Facebook. They know who's Christians. They know who has guns. They know who are resistors. It's all being computerized right now. All these exercises are to fine-tune the computer programs. Obama, Biden, all these people are doing some very weird things with the tragedy at Sandy Hook. Integrated Public Alert Warning System called IPAWS. www.smart911.com. You can see they're computerized and everything, automating everything. That's how else are they going to be able to go into the haystack population and pull out the needle one at a time? And that would be people who are not going to go along with the Luciferic New World Order. Alerting authorities, IPAWS. So they're getting everybody's cell phone, everybody's message system, everybody's TV, everybody's home address. Even know where you go by tracking with your cell phone right now. They'll know every place I go every day. They'll be able to just look at the history. Say, oh yeah, he goes down to the local pub here for jazz music on Wednesday night at 5:30 to 7:30. They'll know where I'm going to be. Integrating the TV, the computer, cell phone, tracking you when you go down the street, knowing what you bought, how much gas may be in your car. Ah, he just filled up yesterday. Phone, text, email, social media, code red alert, mobile app. So when they do pull this off, I'll bet my cell phone starts going off with an alert that something happened or whatever, some kind of quarantine maybe. They're going to start spreading some kind of plague, or maybe a nuclear radiation alert that they want everybody to stay at home so they know where they are, so they know where to come get you. Capstone event. So it looks like the pyramid on the dollar bill without the cap on it, doesn't it? Capstone event. Police, fire, hospital, highway patrol. Everybody's going to be in on the program for whatever they do. And the computer's probably going to be selecting targets. Right on the dollar bill. Right on the Illuminati. Right on the hieroglyphics on the Egyptian pyramids and other Egyptian ancient texts in other countries. Ecuador, Peru, the Mayan ruins, where they were sacrificing people to death and rolling their head down the steps. Trauma cleaning, crime scene cleaning, homicide, suicide, unattended death, accidents, injuries, vehicle, blood. The Sandy Hook children. Serpro. Industrial accident, decomposition cleanup, blood damage, bodily fluids, sewage cleanup, Sandy Hook Serpro. Biohazard removal, flood restorations, squats, drug dens, hoarding. Hoarding is going to be a crime. So if you did stock up, they can accuse you of hoarding, maybe shoot you. Tear gas remediation. 26 unnamed children from Newtown sent to sing at the 2013 Super Bowl. So some of those kids still alive and moving on in their lives? Solution, Agenda 21, Sandy Hook. Meanwhile, what's happening to our skies? Geoengineering. Meanwhile, man-made global warming is chemtrails. So the chemtrails are controlling the weather. Jade Helm is getting everything in position to do whatever they're going to do. Tanks, helicopters, computerized smart 911s, martial law or invasion training. Be prepared. Geoengineering, Jade Helm 15, sentient mass. There's a reason why you separate the military and the police. One fights the enemies of the state, and the other serves and protects the people. When the military becomes both the enemies of the state, when the military becomes both, the police and the military, the enemies of the state tend to become the people. William Adama, TV guy. And then they're controlling the weather so much, the Hoover Dam, you can see how low it is. In geoengineering, James Helm 2015, sentient mass. Dane Wigington does a great job. And you talk about insanity. Sometimes I question whether being human is a good thing, if this human race should have ever been made, created, evolved, whatever you want. Because we got some sick people running this world. I mean, it's embarrassing to be a human being. If there are intelligent other societies out there in the universe, how do you even justify using white phosphorus on undefended people? You know what phosphorus is? It's that thing at the edge of a map that you strike it and it flares up. Phosphorus. So they're using these phosphorus bombs on people in Israel against the Palestinians. You gotta be one sick group of people to do that. You gotta be one sick. You can't be human. Look, Obama, he's sitting in a chair. I think the Pope has a chair like this, but it's obvious satanic. It's like big wings, devil's wings. Guess he got Biden there and somebody else. Look at that chair. Who would have a chair like that? Only the devil I can think of. Denver International Airport has this crazy looking horse that's spooky with red glowing eyes. And remember Katy Perry was riding the bull with the red glowing eyes. Here's another one that's insane. Newsweek magazine. Remember they have that Shiva statue in front of CERN? And Madonna was doing the Shiva dance. Whoa, got a bug on me here. Feel something crawling on my foot. Sitting out here in my outdoor shorts with a nice shirt on. Nice summer day here in North Carolina in the mountains. A caterpillar was crawling on my foot. In my flip-flops. Alright, so back where I was. Hope you're enjoying my scenery back here. Nice place to make videos, sit outside. So Madonna was doing the Shiva dance. There's employees of CERN were all doing the Shiva dance. You can go on YouTube and see the videos. Cartoon characters are doing the Shiva dance. And Newsweek calls Obama God of all things doing the Shiva dance. Remember the chair he was sitting in? It's the devil's chair. And here's the Shiva outside of CERN. Newsweek doing Obama. Can I spell it out any clearer for people? And they're supposed to be opening up the abyss. Opening up a portal to some demonic beings. And CERN has a logo, 666, you can see up there on the top with the 3 6s. In circles, circles, and there's Shiva and in some kind of portal. Have they figured out a way to open up the gates to Hades? California, you're not going to believe this, massive bomb. Why would they have a bomb like this going down the road in California? U.S. Air Force Blue Horizon. Look at the logo. Geoengineering, the wings, the center. Look up the Egyptian hieroglyphics and you'll see the circle with the wings. Our military, all the logos of all of the climate mafia. Weather Channel, NASA, NOAA, all their emblems. If you go examine the symbols, the badges, the logos, you'll see the satanic references. Weather made to order. Geoengineering, Jade Helm 15, 2015. Geoengineering, Jade Helm 15. Air Force Weather Agency. So they're focused on controlling what we breathe in. That's pretty scary. They can put anything they want. Mutually assured destruction, MAD. 20th century and 21st. So first it was everybody was worried about nuclear explosions. Now they can take everybody out just like a bug. Australian antigen, Ebola, AIDS, MARS, SARS. William S. Cohn, U.S. Defense Secretary. April 28, 1997. Others are engaging even in an eco-type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves, HAARP. So there are plenty of ingenious minds out there that are at work finding ways in which they can wreak terror upon other nations. It's real, and that's the reason why we have to intensify our efforts. William Cohn, U.S. Defense Secretary, Weather Warfare. When will we wake up and listen? And realize what we see is what they are doing. U.S. government, underground facilities, tunnels, DUMBs, deep underground military bases, all over the planet. In the U.S., they're stocking up with goods. Tractor-trailer drivers are reported delivering supplies. They got this big machine that builds these tunnels. Look how big that thing that can bore a hole in the ground. And they don't want all of us humans around. Here's a billboard. Stop spraying us. Geoengineeringwatch.com. HAARP systems. Just look at the locations of these HAARP systems. That would be the red dots. Alaska, looks like California, Maine, Puerto Rico, Brazil, Europe, Norway, Russia, China, India, Australia, and Japan. Microwave gigantic transmitters. I bet a couple of those could, aimed at the right spot, could cause earthquakes. God knows what else. Google targeted individuals. So this stuff they're dumping from the plane does get in your body and in your brain. They probably take blood samples at road stops to find out how much people are getting polluted with this stuff. I mean, it's been reported they are trying to take blood samples. Face the reality. Chemtrails are real. There's a bunch of people. Stop spraying us. Chemtrails cause climate change. Stop geoengineering. Geoengineering, J-Town, 2015, Sentient Mass. There's a lot of people who are awake. 25 April 2015, everywhere. Global march against chemtrails, geoengineering. Stop geoengineering and HARP transmissions. Look at this. So Bruce Jenner becomes Caitlyn Jenner. So apparently Caitlyn, Courage Award. Does she deserve it? He deserve it. She deserve it. What is it? Bruce Jenner, Caitlyn Jenner? But anyways, Caitlyn Jenner, in a man's voice, threatens this guy in an interview and said, how would you like a ride to the hospital in an ambulance? So even though she's been made into a woman, he, she, whatever, she's going to punch the daylights out of this guy like a man. Go watch the video. Too crazy. Then they got the blood moons. But what's particularly interesting, September has one of those blood moons, the last one. Just saying. Is there something coming we should know about? Why are they putting troops and tanks and helicopters and everything all over the country and even Europe, everywhere? There's a planetary thing coming. Miley Cyrus in 2009, before her sex kitten mind control programming, but after all, she's a puppet, and we need to look at those who are pulling the strings. So Miley Cyrus used to probably be a normal girl. Singing. And I'm not trying to disparage Miley Cyrus. I feel sorry for her, just like her father said to GQ magazine, that the satanic Hollywood people have taken over her. He's worried about her. We also need to look at what they are doing to people such as Miley Cyrus, and even maybe those other kids who did the church bombing and Batman shooting bombing and some so-called Sandy Hook event. What are they doing to our youth in general? Apparently, an alien said this to an American military guy. I'll think of his name. But he said, we aliens love our children so much. And if you even looked like you were going to harm a hair on their head, or maybe a scale on their back, I'm paraphrasing, we would kill you instantly. He says, you, world, planet Earth citizens, don't seem to care about your children as much. And I have to be honest, in the last 60, 70 years, it really does seem as if the American parents don't care about their kids. It's sad. It's enough to make a person cry. How can this happen? That we humans have gone so far over the cliff. Is there any... It's certainly not going to be any star award for being a human. Or history tells the story thousands of years from now. It's going to almost be a worthless race. A worthless existence. Not all of us, of course, but so many. And we let the people who are running our planet, the subtle line subtly emphasizes the one eye sign, while the subtle pin in her ear refers to the physical trauma. This image is a rather clear way of portraying Miley as an MK Beta kitten. These people that are into perverted sex, and a lot of these Zionist Jewish folks, are here, according to Rabbi Marvin Antelman, and I have some friends who own some hotels up north. I'm not going to name the city. But she told me some stories that I can't believe, and I've heard other things and read other things. But they'd certainly like to hear filthy, decadent sex. The Zionists, and including probably the high-level Masons and Jesuits and the priests that were infiltrated the church from the communist nations that I went through, that they said they were going to send thousands of infiltrators. And then that Sewell guy providing children for the elites over in Europe. And then, of course, here in the United States, there's plenty of evidence of pornography and pedophilia and child trafficking and sex and all that. It's just sick. Besides not caring for the people's children in this country, they've turned over to perverted activities. It's just beyond belief. While the third eye represents a state of complete mental and physical slavery at the hands of the occult elite, the fact that she is naked emphasizes the kitten programming aspect of the school. You got funny white lines drawn on her neck. And then back to where we began. The Georgia USA Guidestones say they want 500 million. That's enough people for them to control and provide them with their slaves. And all that'll happen is if people don't pay attention and don't care. And they can pull the trigger and put anything into that sky spraying material tomorrow and start some kind of poisonous plague across this country. We have people at these military bases who look at people who drive by and wave and seethe and look at them like they want to kill them. If looks could kill, as that one guy said. Under the guise of something called a Unity Project. All this is going on. Thank you for watching my video. One just wonders what's going to happen next. All those vehicles in the last couple of days going from Virginia through South Carolina, Ohio, and other places. I've been paying attention. Alex Jones from Infowars.com. Going over to Spain to see the economic crash. China losing trillions in the market. Blaming the secret conspirators, NATO and the Pentagon and USA. I mean, those are World War III fighting issues. And all over Europe is crashing, and they're doing all these Jade Helm type events over there. Rick Miracle reporting.